Hi everyone, this is my current art process from start to finish using this drawing as my example. Disclaimer, I'm not professional. I'll show the brushes and the order I sketch and render. The brushes I use are in the Procreate library, so you can just find them there. For sketching to rendering, I use the Plenty brush, and for erasing, for finer details like eyelashes, I use the Nowhere Else brush. To start off my piece, I found a reference off of Pinterest. I then began to sketch out the main shapes of it and molded it with the Liquify tool to my liking. To make my anatomy more accurate, I started off trying to copy the reference and then slowly changed it to my own character. I then used that initial sketch to create my first proper sketch, marking out the facial features and smaller things, making my brush size smaller. This sketch is more about making a base for my line art to go on top of. It's completely fine to change features halfway through, as I didn't like how the sketch of the outfit was going, and used the references clothes for it instead. I then began the line art with my Plenty brush and started with the facial features. I made them fit my character more than my reference, as I did with the hair. With the line art, I tend to work outwards, starting in the middle and ending with the outline, but sometimes it varies. After that, I cleaned up my line art and added a few details. I normally make my line art a dark brown, lower the opacity and set it to a multiply layer. After making my background a grey mid-tone, I then finally began rendering, starting with a flat base colour for the skin. I cleaned up the edges and began adding warm colours around the eyes, cheeks and lips, nose, tip of the ears and shoulders using the Plenty brush as low opacity. I use a darker, more saturated than the original skin tone colour to add shadows. If I want softer shadows, I tend to lower the opacity of my brush even further and add a bit of a gradient to it. Normally, I do all this on a layer clipped to the base, so if I make any mistakes, they're easy to fix. I added some even darker shadows and used the Forester brush to add a little bit of soft shading to it. I then started adding some more shading around the lips and the nose. This is where I started on the eyes, adding an off-white colour on a new layer and using Alpha Lock to clean the add shadows. I started adding the iris and pupil with fine details like highlights, then I added the waterline and tear ducts. I then used the Nowhere Else brush to add eyelashes and eyeliner. Then I added some more to the lips. For the hair, I added a base and played around with the colour. I then added some darker, more saturated colours in order to add shadows. I put in more even darker shadows to the hair and started adding highlights. I also added some reflective light on both the hair and skin. Basically, I put a low opacity hair colour on the skin where the hair is right next to it and vice versa. Now I was finished with the hair and skin, I started doing the clothes with a dark brown base. Then, as I did with everything else, I added shading and details to the clothes while also adding some more reflective light from the hair and skin. Finally, because I'm lazy, I just did a simple background and added that reflected light to the outline of my character. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed my little process video.